How's it going, everybody? My name's Jake Thomas.
And I'm Colin Thomas, and you're watching the Crushing Cans podcast. Today, we're drinking Crush, a cucumber sour ale from Barrel Brewing, located in Bend, Oregon.
Yeah, let's crack these things open. I'm excited to try it. So you told me I've drank this before. You said I drank it at my bachelor party or something like that.
Yeah, so this is one of my favorite beers. I'm on a really big sour kick lately the last several years. It probably doesn't sound like it's going to be too good, but it's really, really refreshing. The first time I think you drank this was when I bought a 12-pack of it and took it over to Caleb's house for your bachelor party.
After I was already drunk?
I don't know, but everybody, you seem to like it. It was pretty good.
I'm typically not a sour ale fan. I'm not a...
That tastes so good.
I mean, it's got a decent flavor. I don't know. It's not my thing, but it's not bad.
It's tarty. It's what sour ales are. They're sour.
Yeah.
So, but today, we're gonna have kind of a shorter episode for you guys today, in lieu of Father's Day weekend. So we're kind of gonna go ahead and just kind of go over our picks and see how we did on the card.
See how we did. All right,
so
let's
just
get right
follow
into
along
it.
with us.
So let's pull that up real quick. We're gonna start at the bottom of the card. The first fight of the night, that was Austin Hubbard versus Max Rosskopf. I actually picked Rosskopf, I think is how you say it. I actually picked him to win by I believe it was knockout. Or no, I picked him to win by knockout in round 2.
Looks like you got him in round 3, but yeah.
Oh yeah, round three.
I did pick him by knockout in round 2 though.
Yeah.
So or no wait.
That's the problem is they show it. He
lost by knockout in round 2, yeah.
But it's not even a knockout. So this one,
I had him picked by decision.
This was a weird one.
It was weird, and I've been kind of doing some reading on it too, because a lot of people are blaming the corner, saying they failed his fighter, and I think his cornerman was Robert Drysdale. If you know anybody in MMA, they know who Robert Drysdale is.
So why did they say that he failed him?
So I think it was MMA fighting Ariel Helwani and some maybe it was a different writer, but they were talking about. Because he asked to quit like 9 times, I think they counted each one time where he said,
"Yeah,
call it." They said it was 9 times, and the corner didn't do it. But honestly, if the fighter wants to quit, he doesn't have to go out there.
Yeah, he doesn't have to go out there.
The corner's job is to try to motivate him. Maybe he's just lacking motivation. Maybe he. I mean, there was a 1-to-1 fight at that point. He won the first round, got picked apart pretty bad in the second round. So, I mean, the third round, you have 5 more minutes. He could have won that fight. And this is the UFC. This is the big time. This is where people are going. So I don't blame his manager for trying to get him motivated to go back out there.
Well, and then there's a little bit more to it. So according to Dana White, his managing team had been jumping all over him, had been jumping all over the UFC trying to get them to bring him in.
Oh, yeah.
They had been blowing him up, telling him that Max Rosskopf is the next big thing. He's going to be a star. And then he comes in and he quits in the middle of a match
between the second and third round, and it seemed like he retired.
Well, that's what everybody was saying.
The way he said it, he said, "I don't have it. I don't want to do this anymore."
Yeah, that's what everybody was saying is that
really
he had lost by retirement.
Yeah, lost by retirement. Just kind of called it quits in the middle of the damn fight.
It's the weirdest thing.
In a 1-1 fight, I think it was one of the things. He took the fight on a 5 days' notice.
It was a short notice fight,
and to be honest, I think it was just one of those things where he had been dominant in like almost every other fight he's had.
Yes.
And then this was the first time he had faced any adversity in a fight, and he wasn't used to it. I don't think he was ready for it.
Well, yeah.
It's hard to be ready on 5 days.
It's a unique circumstance regardless. You're not fighting in front of a crowd. Yeah. You take a show in the biggest promotion on a short notice, but, it still comes down to it. You just got your opportunity. We've been saying it the whole time, right? Be ready. Stay ready. So somebody's coming to pick these fighters up, right? Somebody's looking for an opportunity to pull somebody in.
Yeah.
And right now the UFC is booking guys that want to fight. So if you're ready and you want to fight, they're looking to take you in. Don't screw that one opportunity up. You may not have gotten that otherwise.
Yeah. So moving forward, that puts both of us at 0-1 on the night so far.
Yeah, it wasn't a good night for me. All right, so we go into the next fight. That was Lauren Murphy versus Roxanne Modafferi. I had picked Roxanne Modafferi by decision. I thought that she was too savvy. I thought that she was too technical on the ground, and I also thought that she'd been in this game for close to 20 years. She had the experience factor.
Might have been 20 years. I don't know.
17 is what they were saying on that.
I just felt like Lauren Murphy was going to be too strong. It's just too much for her to handle.
Better camp.
Yeah, better camp.
She has more crisp.
I think it's just really what it came down to for me is I just felt like she was going to be the more physically present opponent there for her. So
yeah, I can understand that. I can see that. So that fight ended up turning out to be it
was a decision for Lauren Murphy.
That was a perfect pick for you.
Put me at 1-1 on the night.
1-1 on the night with one perfect pick.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that puts me at 0-2 on the night. Let's move on to the next one. The next fight that we had was Justin Jaynes versus Frank Camacho. I had picked Justin Jaynes to win. I
had Camacho winning. I think I had him by decision, maybe?
Yeah, I think if I remember right, you had him by decision.
No, I had Camacho winning a knockout in round 2, but he ended up getting knocked out in the first round.
Which is exactly what I thought was going to happen. Justin Jaynes was throwing some bombs. Like, he may not be the most technical striker, but I had watched a couple of his fights, and he seems to throw these punches that hit, and they land where he's looking. They might not be the cleanest looking, but they're powerful, and they land where he's throwing them. I don't get it. He just lands.
Just one of those guys that just
knocks him out.
Yeah, hits hard. He's a brawler, man.
He came in on short notice, too.
Yeah, he came in on short notice, too, because Camacho's previous opponent had to back out because his manager had tested positive for coronavirus.
Yep, tested positive for the coronavirus, and that was what put you leaning towards Camacho, correct?
Yeah.
Plus, this was Justin Jaynes' really first fight in the UFC.
Like, if you look at the fight we were talking about earlier, the guy 5 days notice.
Yeah.
I mean, this one was only on like 2 or 3 days notice.
Yeah, I think this was 2.
But I mean, when you get those guys that come in on really, really short notice, they're not typically in peak physical condition. And Camacho, I believe he went through a full camp for this fight. So
Possibly.
So that's kind of where my head was at. Is like, it's hard to pick a new guy, but you know, sometimes I think it's a mentality thing too. You get those guys that get their call and that opportunity, and they just take advantage of it. It doesn't even matter time, place, anywhere.
And then there are also those people who are their own worst enemy, right? Their mind is bad. Their mind is weak. You know, they could be the most talented fighter out there, but their mind could be weak.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
and if their mind is weak, it doesn't matter how talented you are. When things start getting tough, you start getting pushed further than you've been pushed before. Your mind is going to quit on you.
Yep. It's just being put in that situation of adversity.
Yeah, that happens. All right, so that was a perfect pick for me. That puts me at 1-2 with one perfect pick. That puts you at 1-2 with one perfect pick.
Yep.
Let's move on to the next fight. The next fight was Jillian Roberts versus Courtney Casey. I picked Courtney Casey in this one by decision. It was a hard pick. I had actually had Jillian Robertson picked.
I had Robertson picked by decision.
Yeah, I had her picked by decision, and then I had changed my mind. I'm wishing I hadn't because...
Yeah. Well, she ended up winning via submission at the 4:32 mark in the third round. Yeah. I was really pissed off at that one, Robertson. Congrats on getting the submission, but you cost me a perfect pick. I was 28 seconds away from another perfect pick.
Well, yeah, she just looked good overall.
Yeah.
She was aggressive going for that takedown, and she took down Courtney Casey and was able to hold her down. Courtney Casey went to like a traditional jiu-jitsu style match where she was very slow and methodical, trying to attack for submissions. She was maybe kind of close on a couple of them, but Jillian Robertson was just too savvy, too strong. Yeah. She knew what was going on. She was aggressive and ahead the whole fight from beginning to end. And if I remember right, I think they said that she had just set her career high record for most takedowns in a fight for herself in the UFC.
Yeah, I think so.
So that was a good fight for her. That was a dominant fight for Jillian Robertson. I wish I wouldn't have changed it because that would have been a perfect pick for me. But
wasn't a perfect pick for me, but it did put me at 2-2 on the night.
Yeah, I switched. All right, so let's move on to the next fight. This one is Marc-Andre Barrel versus Oscar Picciotto. In this one, I had Barrel as a decision for me. Who did you have for this one?
So this one, I actually had Picciotto winning via knockout in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, well, he didn't end up doing that. So Barrel ended up winning. He actually won by KO at 4 minutes and 50 seconds into the second round. We were about 10 seconds away from going into a third round. It was a pretty good fight. Wasn't the most memorable fight of the evening though, but it wasn't a bad fight. Let's move on to the next one. So this one was Tecia Torres versus Brianna Van Buren. I had chose Brianna Van Buren. I was leaning towards Tecia Torres originally. I had her selected. Another one that I switched, but I was looking at her record, and she was coming off of 3 decision losses. That, to me, was what changed it. You know, Van Buren wins a lot by decision. She's strong. She's tough. And I just thought that if it was going to be a decision fight, it would probably go to Van Buren.
Yeah, so in this one I had Tecia Torres, and I picked her by decision, so it was a perfect pick for me. What it came down to is I felt she was due for a win. And, you know, it's kind of where you looked at it. You saw the decision losses.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at it. I'm like, okay, she's winning or she's losing close fights to tough opponents. She's due for a win.
Yeah.
Like,
one of those 3 losses was a split decision, if I remember right, too. So that was a good one. That put me, I think, at 2-4 on the night with 1 perfect pick so far. So, yeah, that put me at 1-2, 1-3, 2-3 with 1 perfect pick, 2-4 with 1 perfect pick. That puts you at, is that 3-3 at the time?
I think I'm 3-3 at 3
and 3 with 2 perfect picks.
Yeah, I think I'm 3-3, 1-1, 1-2, 2-2, 2-3, 3-3. Yep.
So 3-3 with 2 perfect picks right there. Then we go on to the next one. The next one was one that I was actually looking forward to with the Carpenter, Clay Guida versus Bobby Green.
Yep.
So I was looking forward to this one. Clay Guida, he's been with Alpha Male, and he's been coming in shape, and, you know, he's been known for being in shape. I didn't think that this would be a fight that he would lose a decision in. I figured it would be another decision win for him. That's what he does. He wins a lot of decision matches, or he submits people sometimes, but most of the time it's a decision. I don't think that he's going to submit Bobby Green. I thought Bobby Green was too savvy for that. Mm-hmm. I was leaning towards Clay Guida.
And, you know, that's kind of where I went with it, too, though. I had Bobby Green by decision. I know Bobby Green's got the better striking.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like his wrestling was going to be decent enough that he could keep it standing. And he had been coming off, I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, he came off a pretty long layoff, like a year and a half, maybe.
Yeah, he was off for a little while.
And I just think Guida's on the downturn of his career. You know, he's been in a lot of wars. He's been around for a long time. And so I just felt like, you know, if Bobby Green had a couple more fights, I think Bobby Green probably could have put him away. But I just didn't think
a little bit more
it might have a little bit of ring rust there too, or cage rust since it's in a cage. But
Jim Miller versus Roosevelt Roberts. I had picked Jim Miller to win by decision. I figured he was too physical, similar to how Clay Guida fights without that caveman aspect to it.
Yeah.
What I'm talking about is he gets in, he grabs a hold of people, and he drags them to the ground, and he just beats the hell out of them on the ground. So I figured he would be able to do that to Roosevelt Roberts for 3 rounds. I didn't think that he'd be able to finish Roosevelt Roberts because he's tough.
He is a tough, and they're both jiu-jitsu guys.
Mm-hmm.
Roberts wins his fights by submission. Yep. Miller wins his fights by submission.
Yeah,
so we knew that this was going to be a ground battle going in. I had Jim Miller. I figured he was going to be able to put him away with his veteran experience.
Did you pick a round?
I picked him in the 2nd round, but Jim Miller ended up doing it in like the first minute and a half of the fight.
Yep.
So,
so
I got points for that.
We didn't even get to finish our beer on that, or even get our beer open on that.
Yeah, I don't remember, but he got it quick, man. The old man just keeps getting it done.
It was about 30 seconds.
Yeah,
it was probably
quick.
A little bit longer than that.
I think it was about
it says minute. 2 minutes. It says 2 minutes and 25 seconds is what the official time was. But I'm telling you, it did not feel like that. He went right after him, took him down.
He got on top quick.
Put him out real fast.
But yeah.
All right, so let's move on.
That's another win for both of us.
Yeah, that's not a perfect for me. That puts me at, I think, 3-5.
Yeah, I got partial for the submission on there, though.
That's good.
So you get some points for that.
3-5. So then we move on to the next one. Bilal Muhammad versus Lyman Good. Or Lehman, I think is what they're saying his name is. I picked Lehman Good simply because of his Bellator days. Mm-hmm. You know, he was destroying people and he was knocking them out. So I thought Lehman Good would come in here, and he is a good striker. And I thought he'd come in here, and I thought he would knock Muhammad out.
Yeah,
I thought he'd knock him out in round 2.
Yeah, see, I thought Mohammed was going to win via decision, I think is what I actually picked him to win by. So I figured he would come in, he would utilize his wrestling, he was going to take it down to negate good striking. But it's not really how the fight went. He stood and strike, and he actually outstruck
He stood and struck with him, yeah.
So it was kind of there, but it did go to a decision, and so that was another perfect pick for me.
It was interesting to me in that fight because Lyman Good tried to control the center, but it was like he was trying to pressure, but he wasn't pressuring enough to get Mohammed to the fence to stop his movement. So Mohammed had the ability to bounce in and bounce out.
Yeah, and just simple 1-2s too.
Yeah, and it wasn't anything fancy. He was just in and out. It was the same combination over and over again. For the most part, there was some other stuff that he did. He did throw some other kicks in there, but his most effective thing was that 1-2 over and over again.
Yeah.
He'd hit it and he'd hop out because, there was no control of the distance or anything like that from Lehman Good. And I think that's what ended up costing him the fight overall.
Yeah, he was scoring, so. But it was a good fight. Like I said, another perfect pick for me. So
it was a fun fight, and it was a perfect pick for you, and it was another loss for me. So I go from 17th. I go from 17th in the world last time, out of almost 3,000, to probably in the bottom at this point right now. So then we go on to the next one, and this one was interesting because Raquel Pennington. This was Raquel Pennington versus Marion Hernau. Now, what's interesting about this one was not the fight itself, but Raquel Pennington and Tecia Torres are actually dating.
Mm-hmm.
So this was like the first. I don't know if it was the first, but I wouldn't be surprised if this was the first actual all-female couple to compete on the same card in the UFC.
Might have been.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I don't know.
This one ended up being a perfect pick for me. I chose Raquel Pennington by decision. I just thought that she'd be able to control everything. She's not a super good striker, but she's a super tough fighter. She's not a super good grappler, but she just never stops coming forward, and she never stops moving, and she's going to keep throwing punches and fight from every position.
Yeah, I had Raquel Pennington in this one. I thought she was going to be too strong.
How'd you pick her to win?
I picked her to win by knockout in the second round. I thought for sure she was going to be able to just put it away. She's just too strong, too physical, and I figured her striking was just going to be, she's going to hit more power in her strikes. And she did land more power shots in that fight, and it kind of was frustrating because there were several times where she could have put her away. Like she had rocked quite a few times, and then
it's kind of
every time she hit her, though, she would hit her and she would hurt her, and then she'd just go in for the clinch and kind of just hold her there and then beat up the body. I'm like, no, stop, just put her away. You could do it, but she still got the win, so it was good for her.
Yeah. All right, so then the next one, we're moving on to this next fight. This was Josh Emmett versus Shane Burgos. I had picked Josh Emmett to win by decision. Or no, I had picked Josh Emmett to win by knockout in round 2 because he knocks people out. And he hits people hard. And he puts people to sleep. So I figured for sure Shane Burgos, he has a reputation of fighting with his hands down towards the side. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was going to leave openings for Josh Emmett to land some punches.
Tell you what, man, this fight, I gained a new respect for Burgos because he took maybe 8-10 of Emmett's best
Solid shots.
And still got up. I think he got dropped 3 times in the third round alone. It was crazy, man.
Well, yeah. And
it was nuts. Emmett was swinging. They were landing, both of them. It was a fun fight. It could even be a fight of the year candidate at the way they were going.
Dude, that was the hell of a fight.
It was a good fight.
What's funny about that is the way that it's scored, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with those knockdowns, considering the fact that he didn't finish him with those knockdowns, if this was boxing, each one of those knockdowns would have been a point taken away.
Yeah, it would have been, a 10-6 at that point?
And some of those rounds, they probably would have stopped it for a 3 knockdown rule.
Yeah. So it was crazy. Yeah, in boxing, that would have been a TKO for most professional promotions, I think.
Yeah.
It was crazy, man. Like I said, they were just throwing some heavy leather. Both guys were landing. It was just a fun fan fight.
Oh, I loved it. It was a great fight, and I was really excited about it. I'm happy for Josh Emmett, who defeated Shane Burgos by decision in a great fight. You don't lose anything if you're that fighter. You may have lost that fight, but you gained a lot of respect and a lot of fans. There's a couple of fights out there that kind of have helped push the sport forward.
Ultimately, right away you think of Forrest Griffin versus
Stephen Bonner.
So
that that one right there, that was a fantastic fight, and it saved the company. Yeah. So Stephen Bonner, he may have ended up losing that fight, but he also gained a lot of fans. He also helped save the entire UFC, and now he's in the Hall of Fame. So just because you lose a fight doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. When you have a fight like this one that's potentially a Fight of the Year candidate, I think it's safe to say that you're going to gain fans from that.
And you're also going to gain a lot of respect from your boss.
Especially because you're fighting during coronavirus times.
Dana White likes the guys that put on a show.
No, he loves those guys.
Here we got the next fight here, I think.
This is the main event.
Curtis Blaydes versus Alexander Volkov. And the first 3 rounds, Blaydes dominated. He just took him down, kind of held him down. Didn't really throw any strikes, didn't do much with it, just kind of held him down and won the round. Second or 4th and 5th rounds, though, Volkov came strong. He was leading with the wrestling. Blaydes gassed.
Well, Blaydes was very gassed. And actually, Dana White had commented on that because of that.
He talked a lot of shit, too, coming into the fight.
Well, no, not even that. Because of the Max Rosskopf thing, right? He was saying Curtis Blaydes, even though Curtis Blaydes didn't perform to his best ability and he made himself look like an idiot, at least he didn't quit. You know, he was like, going into that 4th round, Blaydes was gassed hard. He was breathing hard. Yeah. He could have quit. He didn't quit. Yeah.
But it's a little bit different. Blaydes has faced adversity before. He's been in there. He's been knocked out twice by Francis Ngannou, I think now. So he's been in the UFC.
This is your golden ticket moment.
It is. It's absolutely is. You can't squander it when you get the shot.
I mean, there's something about losing because of maybe it's the jitters from being in the octagon jitters or whatever. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes they give guys who lose and guys who take short notice fights, they give them a second chance. Mm-hmm. So even if he goes out there and he loses that fight, he has an exciting first round. Starts to lose that second round. He's still in the fight. You're 1-1. If he goes out there and he loses that fight, one, he took the fight on short notice. He's taken it during the coronavirus times, and he looked exciting too. Yeah. So he doesn't really lose much from it. The UFC would have given him another shot. Now at this point, Dana White doesn't sound like he's interested in giving him another shot. So that guy better be hoping that his career's done. No, Dana White's not interested in giving him another shot.
I don't know, because when I was watching his press conference with that, and he's like, I don't know why people are jumping on this dude. He did the right thing. If he wanted to quit, he quit. He's like, people keep talking shit about it, but I don't know.
Because Dana White says, if you don't want to be a fighter, don't be a fighter. Yeah. But he's not giving the guy another chance.
I don't think he will, but we'll see what happens.
He's saying, well, at least the guy knows what the guy wants to do, right? Yeah. He had an opportunity to do it, and because Dana went on to talk about how he was pissed off about that. But anyway, let's go back to the Curtis Blaydes fight. Yeah. Curtis Blaydes just kind of tried to out-wrestle him. Yeah. Volkov tried to fight. I picked Volkov to win by knockout in round 1.
I did too. We both had Volkov knockout round 1.
He has one of the highest takedown defense percentages in the heavyweight division, so I thought that it would be a little bit harder for Curtis Blaydes to take him down than
took him down pretty easily in the first few rounds.
Than it was, So I thought it would be harder than that. Curtis Blaydes was able to take him down, but he also wore himself out. But he was able to grind out that decision.
It was really interesting that Volkov, because he's a big dude too. He's like 7 feet tall. Yeah, but he was able to maintain energy going into that 4th and 5th round, and that's where he kind of took over. And, I mean, I think he lost the fight. One card was 49-46.
Well, he kind of frustrated. Volkov did kind of frustrate me that first round, though, because he didn't work hard to stand up. No. So he knew what he was doing. And we were talking about that a little bit, about how Volkov wasn't working. Maybe he was trying to let Curtis Blaydes kind of wear himself out, because he kind of almost stayed shelled up just enough to where he wasn't getting damaged, but not enough that the refs would have stopped it. On the other hand, though, Blaydes wasn't doing enough to force the refs to stop it.
Yeah, it was just nothing.
He was just looking to return it.
But he ended up winning. But when it came down to it, I mean, we ended the night there, and I finished 8 out of 12.
Way to finish these.
Yeah. So I finished 8 out of 12 on that fight. Ended up scoring 540 points with 5 perfect picks. So that's not bad.
Not bad. So what'd you finish overall?
Give me a sec. I could tell you what I finished overall there. So I finished overall for that one 96 out of 2,929.
That's not bad. That's a lot better than I did.
Yeah.
So for me, I only went 5 out of 12, and I scored 325 points, and I was ranked 1,618th out of 2,929.
Oh, you didn't do the worst.
I didn't do the worst.
It's always a way to look at it, but I'm kind of happy with my picks the last few weeks, man. Overall, I'm 26-8 through 3 cards, so I'd say that's pretty high success rate there.
That's pretty damn good.
You're looking at 76%. So
that ain't bad.
Hey, if you guys need pick'em advice, come see me.
Why don't you just pay attention to the podcast, and you can learn a thing or two about some of the fighters.
So I mean, yeah, man. Other than that, the card was actually pretty solid all around. Other than the main event, there was a pretty big letdown.
I really wasn't
following
expecting
that Emmett fight.
I wasn't expecting too much from that. To be honest, I was hoping for a quick knockout.
Mm-hmm.
If there's not a quick knockout, I was kind of planning on being bored, which is typical for me with heavyweight fights.
I felt like Blaydes would actually do something with his wrestling this time, man. It drives me nuts when guys just get takedowns and they don't work for anything.
He says he's going to play the heel role now.
Yeah, I saw that.
I'm a heel. No, you're not a heel. You're
That's
an idiot.
not a heel.
You just because people are booing you for making yourself look stupid in the cage, that doesn't make you a heel.
No, you didn't become a bad guy. You just became a boring fighter.
Yeah, you became somebody. You became someone no one wants to watch.
Yeah, you're not going to get a main event slot again.
No.
What do we got coming up next week for the fans?
Ooh, this is the one that I'm really excited about. So this is Dustin Poirier versus Dan Hooker.
It's going to be a fun one.
That's a scrap.
I like it.
That's a scrap. So, thanks for watching. I'm Jake Thomas.
And I'm Colin Thomas. And you've been watching the Crushing Cans podcast. Tonight we've been drinking Crush, a cucumber sour ale from 10 Barrel Brewing. Let's crush these cans.